2, 1.
Got your attention? So some people say that they don't like school because they don't get paid for it. So I thought I'd show you a couple things before we start on this problem. This is lifetime earnings of people based on their education level. So if you drop out of high school, you're all the way down here. High school graduate, look at that. Like if you think about this as $100,000, you'd make $30,000 more than for every $100,000 than a non-high school. Look how it jumps all the way to here. Associate's degree, 2-year degree. You almost double the money as a high school dropout. A 2-year degree, you can get certifications and welding or nursing or lots of different subjects like that. It gets way up as you go up the ladder, but there's a lot of demand right in here for this area. So with that being said, what I am going to show you here is called factoring and factoring trinomials, and especially working backwards from trinomials. So these are the notes that go along with this paper, factoring trinomials, but I'm going to start out with a little explanation first. And this is one of the most important things that you will do. You'll do it in every math class, and it's a skill that if you have it, you don't ever lose it. Okay, so if you remember, when we multiply these factors, we do the distributive property. You get 2x squared plus 10x minus 3x minus 15. Okay, so that's how we multiply. Some people use the table. That's the same thing. But if you want to note something here, 2x times x is the first term being multiplied together. 2x times 5 is the outside term. Negative 3 times x is the inside term. And negative 3 times 5 is the last term. Okay, and a lot of places this is called FOIL. We don't say this as much at Goshen High School. Some people are scared of it, so we don't use this one as much. But I want to show you is the relationship here, because this first, outside, inside, last is going to be how we teach you how to factor. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is you're going to have this to start with, and you're going to have to get back to here. And so it's helpful to understand this 10x and 3x especially. And so I'll just show you a couple examples. You just got done with factoring 3 other ways. This is the last method. Okay, so there's all the steps are listed here. The one thing I will highlight is it does say check for a GCF. We always do that first. On our initial problems, there won't be very many like that, but that as we get more advanced, that's important. So this walks you through all the steps. I'm just going to show you example problems because this is for after the quiz and kind of take you through my thinking. Okay, so a squared plus 4a minus 5. Here's what you do. You know that you're going to end up with 2 sets of parentheses. And so what I do is I put a number 1 there. And I know 2 things that multiply together to give me a squared. Well, the nice thing is the only thing I can pick is a and a. Okay? So that's my first term. Okay? And then I think of 2 things that multiply to give me negative 5. So I can either put negative 5 and 1, or I could put 5 and negative 1. Either one of those works. Okay, so those are my possible combinations for what's going to go in the last term. We use the first and the last term, and then we adjust them to get the middle term, the outside and inside. Okay, so if I put in negative 5 and positive 1 here, I know that if I were to multiply the outside and the inside terms, going back to this, that's going to give me my inside there. 10x minus 3x was 7x. That's what we wanted. So if I'm going to multiply those terms, I would get a negative 5a and a positive 1a. Negative 5 plus 1 is positive 4, not negative 4. So I got to use my other combination. And it's good to have an eraser, or if you like to rewrite stuff, that's fine, but you're going to be guessing and checking a little bit. Okay? You'll get better at it. So I'm going to make this a positive 5 and this a negative 1. So now I have 5a and negative 1a. And that does give me 4a, so there's my factors. If I multiplied this back out, I would get right back to where I started. Remember, factors just mean, the factors of 10 are 2 and 5. If I multiply 2 times 5, I get 10. That's all we're doing. We're just doing it with variables. Okay? So let's go to the next one. Oh, yeah, one thing to note here. This was a minus, so these signs were different because a negative times a positive is a negative. Okay, let's go to the next one. So start out by putting my parentheses, and I get in everything in there that I know I can get. So I know that these both have to be x. X times x is x squared. And so for 42, I have lots of things I can multiply to give me 42. 7 and 6, 21 and 2, 42 and 1 if you want to use that. Lots of different combinations. But I always try to use something that's sort of in the middle, something equal. And then I just check. It's guess and check. Put in 7, put in 6. They're both positive. And then I'm checking my outside terms and my inside terms to see if I get 13. Because I already picked 7 and 6 to give me 42. I picked x and x to give me x squared. So 7x plus 6x is 13x. It's factored. Done. Okay, notice here, this sign was positive. If this last sign is positive, then both of these signs have to be the same. Okay, next one, p squared minus 18p plus 80. Get in there what you know. I know I have to have p and p because that gives me p squared. And then for 80, I can have 10 and 8. I could have 40 and 2. All kinds of, I'm not going to keep doing all these combinations because at some point I got to stop and check. If I can get something that are kind of in the middle where they're both about the same, that's what I'm going to check first. Okay, now this one causes people problems a little bit. Because this is positive, both of these signs have to be the same. Because we're going to be adding these together. And two things, either got to be both negative or both positive. If this is positive and this is negative, that means both of these are going to be negative. So I get two negatives multiplied together, give me a positive. Two negatives added together, give me another negative. So I'm looking down here, and do any of these add up to 18? Well, 10 and 8 does. Negative 10p, negative 8p is negative 18p. So I have my factors. So you see it's pretty easy when the leading coefficient is 1. Okay, you can always check your answer and go back. Okay, let's get one more here and start off the same way I always do. N and n, that's giving me n squared. Now I'm looking at this. This is a minus, so I know that my two signs are going to be different. It's like this one. They're going to be different. I'm going to be finding a difference. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. But for right now, I don't worry about which one is which. I just list my factors, 14 and 1, 7 and 2. And because I'm going to have a difference, I want to pick the ones that give me a difference of 5. That says negative 5. So I want to make one of these a sign that gives me a negative number and the other one give me a positive number. So if I make this negative and this positive, negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. Check it out. My outside is 2n, my inside is negative 7, 2 minus 7, negative 5. I already picked the other numbers. The key is you pick your first and last numbers to make it work. Okay, so I'm going to sneak this little FOIL thing in here again, because when we are factoring, we are undoing this FOIL shortcut. So the FOIL shortcut says when I multiply polynomials, I multiply the first terms, the outside terms, and the inside terms, and then the last terms. That's what the letters stand for, first, outside, inside, last. So if you know, when we're factoring, we are fixing the first